roll call. I guess we have Tyler Pulley, Municipal Services, Corley Ross, Manager of Corporate Services, Councillor David Tudor, we have Councillor George Manser. I should say that
Zoe Angeles?
Sorry, yes, the Warden and Councillor Thurber send their regrets. We have Taylor Robinson, our Executive Assistant.
If you can get a nameplate, you can get a nameplate.
And me, Deputy Warden, Matthew Ross, taking the place of the Warden, who sent her regrets. Now we will pause to seek guidance. And next we have administrative and procedural items, approval of the agenda. Is there any additions? I have one I'd like to add, Jeff, would be 4.4 business items, NSFM request.
4.4.
What was 4.4?
NSFM request.
So I think if we could get a motion from one of the other two members, make that addition to the
So
agenda.
moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Reminded. Motion carried. Approval of the minutes of April 11th, 2023.
I move approval of the minutes of April 11th, 2023.
Any questions or concerns?
I don't know if I want a second or not. Yes, seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Reminded. Motion carried. Okay. Now, we don't have any presentation tonight.
They're not showing, they're not going to be here, right?
Not going to be here, no. And
We're going to be done in a few minutes.
is there any unfinished business for the minutes of April 11th? Move into the CAO reports. Question over the meetings. May 16th, there is no, no meeting. There will be council May 23rd at 5 p.m. May 30th, there is no meeting. I believe most of us will be at the FCM. June 6th at 5 p.m. we have TIR, followed by bylaw and policy at 6 p.m. June 13th at 5 p.m. we have Committee of the Whole. June 20th we have no meeting, and June 27th at 5 p.m. we have council. The CAO updates. Is there any questions for Jeff, or do you have any?
The only thing, it continues to be, like, literally up to and including today, the Department of Justice is staying in touch regarding the RCMP retro costs.
Mm-hmm.
No update, but they are at least saying there's ongoing conversations. There's nothing to share yet, but as soon as they have something, they will. So I know it's hard when you get updates that don't say anything, but they are at least reaching out to say those conversations are happening. So it's something. But yeah, I think everything else is pretty
Reaching out to say
self-explanatory.
they're not saying anything.
Seems like they're not saying anything. Yep.
Yeah.
Any other questions on? I noticed the email you sent out, Jeff, with the internet. There's some work getting done and stuff. So
Yeah, that's it. So we are trying to do a bit of work there. Gathering information is always a challenge. So Bell has a list of addresses that they've posted through the Develop Nova Scotia site.
yeah.
So we believe they're largely complete the Phase 3 project. They are not complete the Phase 2 project. So there's good news. Phase 3 was a bigger project for us, but the people that are caught up in areas that weren't finished in Phase 2 are not incredibly happy. And we're starting to get a few hints on where some of the holes exist for the installs. But yeah, Bell, I have not seen or talked to anyone that's connected, but supposedly a bunch of those areas. I think I'm going to try and be a guinea pig later this week and make the phone call myself.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's good news moving forward.
Right
So
on.
Jeff, those things you sent us, are those addresses that can be hooked up, or if they wanted to?
Yes.
They're not hooked up now, but
They're not hooked up.
but they could be.
That's it. They've got to they've got to make the connection from their house to the system,
Yeah.
but it's
The line
ready
is there.
on their street.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
Yeah, that's good news. All right. All right. Let's do the meeting dates, department reports. Is there any questions on any of the department reports? I noticed that at the airport we have 56 training, 30 recreational, 4 business, and 12 government. Is that just for April, or was that a quarterly number? It says under April, so.
I think Tyler, jump in if I think that also counts. Repeat, like if you went out and you were seen every day through the month, you are 30, if not 60.
Oh, okay.
So there's a lot of repeat traffic
Okay.
in there.
Yeah. Right on. All right. Well, there's no more questions. Then can I get a motion for the department reports, please?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion reminded, motion carried. Nothing under dangerous and unsightly premises. And then we'll move into business items. 4.1 energy monitoring project notification.
So this is a project that has been kind of started or trying to get going behind the scenes for a while. It's a really small financial contribution that comes into kind of the regular budget amount, which is why it hasn't been discussed here. So it's a monitoring project us and the town of Digby are working on. There's FCM funding involved, which is why it's such a small amount for us. So it's going to be monitoring this building, the airport, the Weymouth Library, the Arena and Curling Club, and then some facilities in town as well, to help identify surges or things that are happening with your current electrical load, which will help identify what can happen or what technologies can be brought in to reduce that. So it's I believe our cost on it, I think, is $2,800. So it was a very reasonable project. FCM is the bulk of the funder, so this is just the award letter that FCM approved the funding. It's been a bit of a long journey paperwork-wise, as FCM usually is, but it will help with some of the buildings. Some of the buildings that were, to qualify for it, you had to have so many buildings to be eligible. We are not anticipating this office or the Weymouth Library will have a lot of potential upgrades, but we're very curious. Honestly, if the rink alone, the rink and the sewer treatment plant in Smiths Cove are joint ones with us in the town on this list. Big power users, marginal increases at either of those facilities would make a big difference. Everything else that we're monitoring is kind of minor improvements are gravy on that.
So this monitors electric currents, not people. This is
just
just electric currents.
just electric currents,
Put that
and
out
it
there.
monitors it at a level where, like, if in the middle of the night you've got a spike, or monitors it to the degree they've had some success. They did a similar project in Barrington where, like, when your ice plant starts up, that there's a real high surge that they think that seems out of whack. They can bring in equipment to help reduce that, or you see what's happening at 2 o'clock in the morning. So
Will this help, like we had those rolling brownouts or whatever? Would this information be useful to?
it would maybe flag that something is happening going into facilities, right, or help flag anomalies like that. So yeah, we're excited. It's been a while getting the paperwork going, to get this going, and it leads to, there's a path with FCM. If you do this step, then there's other steps that are connected to funding, where if this project recommends, here's what's needed at the arena, there's other steps that you can pursue the next level of funding through FCM as well. So we're excited to get it going.
Cut costs on infrastructure, that's.
Jeff, how is the Weymouth Library heated? Heat pumps? Or?
I believe there are, yeah. I don't think there's any in-floor, George. I think it's all heat pumps. I could be wrong on that. There may be some in-floor, but I don't think the whole facility is in-floor.
Right on. No, that's good. Saving money. Number 4.2, very condition email. I read this and automatically thought it should go to the province, but what do you have on this, Jeff?
So this was I think as you see in the package, it was a complaint email that came in, and I think a number of other people were tagged in the same email. Yeah, this went to the minister, the MLA, and the operating center for TIR. So I think it's kind of run its course that way.
Yeah.
But again, that's for you to discuss. I think there was a commitment to bring it to our attention. But again, it's a provincial matter. But when I look at the addresses being Kim Masland and
I don't know if you guys get the reply to that from John Rakrovich. Yeah, John had an excellent, top-notch reply.
Okay, so that's the supervisor
Yeah,
for TIR.
detailed. I'm sure it answered all the questions. I can pop by tomorrow maybe and see the lady.
Okay, but if John replied, that really, I think, wraps that item.
Yeah, he did. Excellent response. We sometimes email him, so I guess I must have forgot that.
Perfect.
All right.
Works to get things fixed up.
Well, hello, Warden.
Hello.
Hi, Angela.
Hi.
Welcome to our meeting.
Welcome to the meeting. You want me to finish it up? We only have one
Yeah,
thing.
you can finish it up, but I thought you could go,
Oh, yeah. Yep. Sure.
but I expect you to continue with the meeting, not me take over.
Here, I'll get that later.
That's what you call timing it right,
Yeah.
or on right.
I'm just going to say, depends on how you take that, but good to see both of you.
Yeah, and I'm gonna ask for an in-camera.
Okay.
Yep. All right. So, what did I have here? Next on the list, I added this was 4.4 NSFM.
About the carbon tax.
Oh, right. You know, you guys are all here. We could talk about the carbon tax. I added that one also, the carbon tax for discussion. I don't know what we can do as a municipality, but I noticed that there's other stuff that goes around municipality to municipality, and I know this is a provincial federal thing. I just find with everything going on and reading stuff in the papers with what I passed around with the Parliament thing last time, I just feel it needs to be at least brought up to the Premier or somebody to put a suspension on this for now. I've got another piece of literature here I got yesterday that West Nova Fuels is sending out to their customers that as of July 1st, there'll be gasoline prices go up 14.31 cents per liter. Diesel or furnace oil is going to go up 17 cents. And this is coming at a time where interest rates are high, food is high. This is only going to add more to it. I'm not against green energy. I know some of that tax goes towards initiatives. I know that there will be a rebate, but what you spend and what you get back in the rebate and where is it going? There's not enough information that the federal government's given out. It kind of reminds me of the GST. Everybody got a rebate when it first came out. But then as the years went on, guess what? the middle class, a certain amount of people won't get it. And I don't feel that, 1 million people in Nova Scotia are going to solve the world's climate issues. And I don't think it's fair that the backs of Southwest Nova Scotia right now should be paying for some of those initiatives that we don't even know are helping. One we talked about was the tidal energy that took a big hit from DFO. I mean, they're not even on the same page. Where's that money going? A lot of money wasted there. Like, it's just, to me, I don't think it's the right time. And I'm asking you guys, is there anything we can do? Is there something we can do?
I don't see a whole lot we can, like, this is kind of imposed by the federal government. The provincial government, from what I understand, had some kind of something in place here a year or so ago, and the federal said, no, that's not good enough. You can't work it that way.
Yeah.
You got to do this, and it's been imposed upon us. What are you going to do?
It was originally seen as this was considered almost a right-wing economic solution to climate change, was to add a tax on it, was the plan, to discourage it. And of course, then they take the money that they're going to raise with the tax and give it back to individuals. Like it is, it's part of an international, it's not just Southwest Nova, it's, there's, over 100 countries. Certainly the first world is taking most of the oomph. But also we should keep in mind that our major industry, lobstering, is extremely sensitive to temperature changes. And if we don't do anything, I would imagine, if you look historically at the distribution of lobster over the last 80 years or so, it's moved hundreds of kilometers north. And when I was a kid, the water in the Bay of Fundy you had to go to almost the Arctic Circle, northern Labrador, to find water. It was cold. That's all long gone. And last year there was mass mortality events with lobsters, and when they were bringing them on board, they were so weak they were dying. I know some people that had to sell their boat. They caught so little lobster. If our main economy, everything is the fishery, and it's proving to be extremely sensitive. And if we can't all work together, the lobster industry will be gone, and it may even be too late now. Everybody's saying how warm it is last year. Well, last year might have been the coldest winter in the summer of our lives. The way they're talking about right now for this year with the El Nino and the thermal abnormalities that are going on in the ocean. There's been a great deal of heat. They're wondering what was happening to the climate models, because according to the models, it should have been much hotter than it was. Well, what was happening is it's all ending up in the ocean. And like I said, the lobster is everything. If we can't do something about it, who can? And it's not a pleasant sight. It's not pleasant. There's no, easy answers. Nothing good is easy. But like I said, there is options we can do. Like a lot of people own their houses, for example, in Digby County, above the provincial national average, and rural houses are quite often in need of these upgrades, and a lot of these upgrades they're not provided by the tax authority, they're provided separately, but the province has upgrades that you can get into your house for tens of thousands of dollars available for most people, and the ones that it's not available, there's financing available. I feel like that is the realistic way to try to save people money. Also, there is, like I said again, the green hydrogen option. They're going to put in a big plant in northern Nova Scotia. Maybe there's a possibility for a demonstration project, or long term. Like right now, the prices are very similar, but with the carbon tax, the green hydrogen is going to probably end up being quite a bit cheaper as the years go on. I kind of feel like those are the practical things to do. Like, we can definitely write a letter to the feds or whatever, but it's just going to be ignored. And I like something practical. Like, yes, we can do this for you to save you money. We can get you a heat pump, hook you up with the home warming program, all those sorts of things that will actually have a result that we'll be able to point at. Like, at this point, it's international agreements. I don't think you would even if the Tories won, I don't think it'd be an awful lot of pressure for them to pull out of it. And I don't think I'd be surprised if they did. Just as far as international, we were in the room and made these. We've been in the room for 20 years making these discussions, and now it's unfortunate, but yeah, this is the mechanism in conjunction with actually not left-wing economists, it was right-wing economists that came up with this as the way to get the result and use competition and all that as something that will get you forward towards what you want. That's sort of my thoughts on it. But nobody wants, you're right, nobody's got, who can afford to feed their family and who can afford to
heat their homes.
Yeah, at the same time, but on the other hand, if the fisheries collapse due to the temperature of the water, it'll look like a small price to pay.
Actually, there's a lot of what David said that I agree with. Personally, am I happy with the carbon tax? No, I'm not. Do I think it's there to help people sort of change their ways and to give money to people that don't have? I believe that. Do I think if we are not acting now, my grandchildren's children there won't be anything there for them. So I personally agree with George when you said it's federal, but it's provincial, though the province wasn't happy with it. But the other thing is it's international. And whether we like the carbon tax, that is what's come out to help people make their minds up. Do I really need to do this, or could I go for a slight walk to do it? I will be the first to tell you, I'm slack. I would take my car and drive across the road. Well, now it makes you stop to think, do you really need to turn that gas on when you can walk across? So there are, and I agree with you, David, there are ways that we can start looking at what we can do to save, to stop using carbon. But that's just my own personal opinion.
No, I have nothing more to add, but I agree with everything that George said and David said and Linda said.
I agree with what you're saying. I guess maybe the pressure is to put on the Nova Scotia Power, because like you just said, I agree with everything with the lobster fishing industry. What I am worried about is we're down here saying we can give you a heat pump, we can do this, we're going to transfer you into an electric car, but when push comes to shove, we don't have the grid to do
Oh,
that.
no, none of those
We
things.
proved that.
Yeah, that's true.
One cold day and everything shut down. So to me, people are going to be fighting for food, fighting to heat. And I understand what you're saying, that it's the only way to get everybody to change. But in the meantime, we don't even have the federal government or the provincial government pressuring Nova Scotia Power to put the infrastructure in place to do any of this, and we're paying for it. So, but.
Now, I personally would have no problem sending a letter to the government asking them to talk to Nova Scotia Power about infrastructure so that this can happen. And whether they have to use the carbon tax to help do it.
Yeah.
I think that to me is a letter I could
Carbon tax
stand
goes to
behind.
people, though. They're supposed to
Not
back to
remove the
users.
carbon tax,
But
but
now that you're getting the money, make sure we get looked after.
Yeah.
We're not, and we know that.
and that's where a lot of the money's is ending up there.
At the point.
So if I could, I would like to
Consumption.
make a
It's
motion
more expensive at the
that we
point.
send a letter to the Premier and our copy to our MLA, that we feel that with this carbon tax on, that that they lobby Nova Scotia Power to put better infrastructure in place than what is there now, especially in southwest Nova.
I'll second that.
Yeah, I'm in favor of that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary-minded, motion carried. I like that, that's good. Yeah.
Geez, since I know we're talking about carbon tax and you mentioned the title, I wouldn't mind sending out a letter in regards to that. I know everybody and their uncle has sent that letter, and I'm sure Terry sent.
Yeah, there has been some, they're now at the
sent a
table.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I wrote all the Liberal MPs and I phoned them all, and a couple got back to me. They said that it was the first thing they met on that Monday. I pointed out, it was in the New York Times. Mom's boyfriend was incredibly useful. He gives money to political parties, so when he can call the premier. They're like, hey, yeah, you got an extra couple $1,000. It's donate some money to the
I like the party. I like Linda's motion too, because then it also will probably limit it to some economic infrastructure that could have been here, that isn't in here because of it. And with that, if that comes after, then people are making money. Yeah, I get it. Works good. I like it.
All right,
Yeah,
I just wanted to hear that. I guess I'm finished. Just one last thing. My prediction for bad news is that we're going to have somewhere in Southeast Asia, somewhere like that, you're going to get 42 degrees, 44 degrees, you're going to have 90% humidity, and it's going to go above the wet bulb temperature, and that's the temperature where you can no longer cool off, and we're going to see a mass mortality event. And I think that this is the year we're going to see it. If you can get 52 degrees in the mountains of BC, what's going to happen in these places that they don't even have air conditioning and things like that. The climate models have, none of them show, even the most extreme ends, none of them show the abnormalities that are happening, like 52 degrees, 44 degrees in Vietnam right now. You're going to see some. I figured this is the year. This is the year it's going to really look
I
bad.
think it's within 5, but
The El Nino got me paranoid.
Yeah,
it should.
Mhm.
So we'll move on to 4.4. That was another request of mine, NSFM request. I was at the conference last week at the Pines, and the COAO and I had talked about this before, and I had talked to Juanita. I know there's a lot of new people coming in the area, and there's a lot of confusion. All councillors, the warden gets a lot of email calls. I want to build this. I want to do this. And why does the building I got this all ready and I bought it, and now the building department's telling me I can't do this, or I guess what I'm trying to ask NSFM to do, because they're the entity for all municipalities, not just us feeling it. When you talk to other municipalities at conferences, if we could ask the NSFM to do up a story or something in the Chronicle Herald and get it out there. Because Juanita agreed with me, we don't have local papers anymore. To talk about, if you're new to the area, it'd be nice to come in, visit your municipality, see your building inspector before you start projects. That if you're interested in a piece of land that you want to buy down by the coastline, it'd be handy to know that there's a coastal stuff going through the province that you might want to know about before you build 10 feet back from that cliff, or stuff like that. Just to help us get the message out, it would help. I mean, not everybody's going to read it, not everybody's going to know, but maybe it would help. And then we wouldn't be getting those calls and frustrations, and I've got a person that's living in the field right now. If he'd have known that there's no access to the land, or things like that, like there's stuff like that going on, and if they had come to the municipality first, they would have been told that couldn't get power, you can't get an address.
Now, there is a newcomers package that the REN uses.
Mm-hmm.
Waste Check has got things in it now, so we're help to try to get things changed. I personally think maybe we need to put a letter in there of some sort. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I can go after you.
Okay, that we put in to build. You need to talk to the building before I think it's great that we do a letter too, but I'm talking about our municipality. I think if we add a letter to these newcomer packages,
Are anyone getting those newcomer packages? Or are they being
they're
handed
being
out?
passed out through the rent, and apparently they are.
Okay, no, I thought it was going to medical.
And
people.
also the realtor, the realtors, they've been offered to them, and they have told them they will, if they want them, they will get them from the rent. But there's a lot of stuff in them, and they were going over it at our meeting today. And I just think that would be a great opportunity, as well as but that would help our municipality as well.
Yeah.
Put on the coastline, do a social media push too, maybe.
Go ahead, yeah.
So yeah, I think one of the issues when we talked about it is more of the due diligence on the land purchase in particular. I think that's the challenge to those of you that have K-class roads in particular, or what we're seeing with some of it's the vacant land purchases that are really driving this conversation, and due diligence around that was the foundation of this discussion. I think just about everybody in the room has been tagged in one of those. Some of you multiple, some of you ongoing as we speak. That's the story that just continues to knock it out there. Everyone is feeling the same issues and pressures on it. Certainly the provinces as well, because people are purchasing land in very remote locations and then shocked about the development hurdles that they face, and all of a sudden we get pulled into a conversation very late as the bad guy in the story, and it's a very late entrance point for us. So I think that was kind of the background of that, was really the vacant land purchases and due diligence.
Sure.
Is there anything that we could do with the municipal office here, like when there's a transaction that has been completed and somebody's bought a piece of land, do they have to register? It has to be registered, right?
But that's through the deeds office.
So I guess I would suggest what we're finding, that's too late, right?
Well, not if they're building a house. Not, it may be too late for.
So what we're experiencing is people, and you've had some in your area, they're already buying land. When we get notice of that, they've bought land on a road. We know they won't be able to get a building permit on, but they don't know that.
No.
So that's the problem, right? Like instantly we now have that issue, right? They've bought a road that isn't bought land that on something that's not considered an open road, that DOT won't issue a driveway permit on, that they can't get legal access to. They don't know this. The due diligence themselves, the real estate agent and the lawyer executed, didn't highlight this, and it's trying to share that story, which I think was some of that idea, which is still hard when it's in the Chronicle Herald. How do people
One day.
understand it? But that's why it was just, because it is a broad-based issue across the province, I think that's why that discussion happened. But that's what we're experiencing is that's the issue. Once the transaction has already taken place, then they use the transaction to leverage us. Well, I just paid this much for this property, and now you're the one saying I can't build a house or I can't do this.
And Juanita said if we sent a letter in, she would take it to the board. She thought it was a good idea because it would encompass all of it. If it does go in the Chronicle Herald, sometimes if it's in, it will make some conversation, right? And then people will. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, if I could just add further to Jeff's point. So I think if they're receiving the rent package or reading the Chronicle Herald, like Jeff said, it's too late. I think one option would be if realtors had to inform purchasers of this information before obviously that's the provincial level though, but
That might be the letter to write. That realtors, by law, have to inform whether or not the limits on the property.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
Or at least connect this conversation does get complicated, which is a tricky part, and we may want to talk about this again, potentially some more, or gather that K-class roads aren't the only place where this challenge exists, but it's the much more significant one, right? It's the legal access discussion and the due diligence that is the challenge that is continually coming up, right? And at this point, some of these properties, the real estate agents, to their credit, would say the province owns a road that goes by it, and that's accurate, right? Like
There's a road
It's
right
really
there.
tricky. We're deep in the weeds here with this K-class road challenge that has been created, which again, we had nothing to do with, but we now are stuck with these unserviced, and certain areas have more of these than others. The rurals obviously have more, but not even all rural areas have the same K-class road issues that we do. Right?
Could you write it? Do you feel like you could write a letter now, Jeff, with what you know that would make sense, or do you want to have? Should we revisit this in like in a month or two?
This has been a broad-ranging discussion. I will say that it's been a good discussion, but I guess like we've talked about letters to inform the NSFM board or for an article for the Herald, letters regarding real estate.
The real estate
welcome
one. I was thinking.
That's why I just didn't know if we wanted to talk about it one more time or.
I would think so.
I
Yeah.
do too. I think so. I think Tyler's idea is good, but we should.
But yeah, we'll
Yeah.
spend some time trying to figure out what that wording would be, or maybe have a suggestion as to what needs to be disclosed there to help close this gap.
Mm-hmm. Yep, okay, so we'll move it to further.
Yep.
Agenda. All right, next is 5.1, MLA Jill Balter response. That is
Oh, yeah.
responding to our concern regarding staffing challenge at the local office of the Department of Public Works. Brought the matter to my attention of cabinet colleagues, and it's a widespread issue. Yeah, I'm still having issues. People to work in public works, so that's all she can offer right now.
And I think to be fair, that's the letter we wrote was asking for just that. So
Yeah.
we'll see how that works out with the dates. So that is complying with the letter we requested.
And she's forwarded it on, so that's good. And 5.2, SCDA thank you letter, a thank you letter from the Freeport Community Development Association for our their request for additional funding for the dumpster. That's it.
There wasn't any little notes at the end here for Dave, was there?
Dave said to.
Yeah, say thank you.
Dave said, write a thank you letter.
Yeah. All right.
You gotta give him advice. He's not stuck to write it down.
Contractual.
Contractual. I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carries.